We all know the pictures, right? Jacqueline Kennedy on Onassis, an absolute icon of style and grace. But to really understand who she was, you can't just look at the public image. You have to look into the shadow she cast.
You see, to truly understand the woman who captivated the entire world, you first have to understand her relationship with the one person who knew her from the very beginning, her younger sister, Lee.
Yeah, this isn't just a story about a first lady. It's really the story of two sisters who completely shaped each other's lives, for better and for worse. Theirs was this lifelong bond, forged in privilege, tested by unbelievable tragedy, and defined by a really complex mix of deep love and intense rivalry. It's a story that doesn't start in the White House, not at all. It begins way before that, inside the gilded cage of New York high society. So their story kicks off in the absolute upper echelons of New York society, a world of just immense wealth, but also deep emotional fractures. I mean, on the surface, they had everything. A grand Park Avenue apartment, summers out in the Hamptons, a life filled with ballet, books, and horse riding. But this gilded upbringing was fractured by their parents' bitter and very, very public divorce. And that scandal, well, that became their bond. It united them as outsiders in their own broken family. Right from the very beginning, they were cast in these opposing roles. Jackie was their father's favorite, the intellectual one. Lee was seen as the prettier, more stylish sister. And this constant comparison, even when they both got crowned Queen Deb, this wasn't just normal sibling rivalry, it was the foundation of a lifelong, really complex dynamic. Now, their mother, Janet, she drilled one expectation into them above all else. They had to marry well. And for women of their class, this was not about romance. It was a strategic imperative. It was the primary path to security and status. And Lee, who was always seen as the more approachable of the two, was the first one to fulfill this duty. She married Michael Canfield, and, some people whispered it was less about love and more about finally gaining an edge on her older sister. But, oh man, that victory was short-lived. Just 2 months later, Jackie didn't just catch up, she completely eclipsed her sister, marrying a charismatic and ambitious young senator named John F. Kennedy. And this one marriage, well, it would set their lives on dramatically different courses. So as Jackie's star just skyrocketed with JFK's political career, their lives ran on these parallel yet starkly different tracks. While Lee was navigating a divorce and a new marriage to a Polish prince, Jackie became the first lady of the United States at just 31 years old, and suddenly the entire world was watching her, leaving Lee firmly in the wings. But even with this growing distance in their public status, Lee remained Jackie's closest confidant. During the intense pressure of the White House years, Lee was her sister's safe space, the one person she could truly relax with, smoke, and just gossip, away from the prying eyes of the world. And oh boy, did the world fall in love with Jackie. Her intelligence, her grace, her impeccable style, it made her a global phenomenon. And in that blinding spotlight, Lee, who had always been praised for her own fashionable taste, was now completely eclipsed. But the fairy tale of Camelot, well, it was about to come to a horrific end. And this would force the sisters into a new chapter, one defined by grief and ultimately a shocking betrayal. On this day, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas, with Jackie sitting right there beside him in the open car. It was just an unfathomable public trauma. In the face of that unimaginable horror, Jackie's stoic dignity held a grieving nation together. And her sister, Lee, flew immediately to her side, providing quiet support through the whole ordeal as Jackie planned a funeral that would cement her husband's legacy. The trauma just got worse 5 years later when JFK's brother, Bobby, was also assassinated. Jackie was consumed by fear, believing her own children were now targets. She desperately needed a way out. Her solution came in the form of a man who could offer what she craved most: absolute security and privacy. Aristotle Onassis, a Greek shipping tycoon, had a private island and his own security force. He could literally sail her away from all her troubles. But this was not just any wealthy man. Aristotle Onassis was someone Lee had been deeply involved with, a man she reportedly hoped to marry herself. For Jackie to marry him was more than just a shocking choice. It was a profound betrayal, one that would create a deep and lasting rift between the sisters. Jackie chose survival over public opinion. She understood the world would judge her, but her priority was protecting her children. This decision is what cemented her image as the pragmatic, resilient Jackie O. So, in the final decades of their lives, after all the tumults and all the tragedy, the sisters' paths would diverge more than ever before. At age 45, Jackie reinvented herself, not as a wife or a public figure, but as a professional. She found purpose and quiet fulfillment as a book editor in New York. Lee, meanwhile, she continued a more public life, trying various projects, acting, decorating, photography, but never quite escaping her sister's shadow. And in a strange twist, Jackie, the global celebrity, craved and finally found a quiet, meaningful life away from the cameras. Meanwhile, Lee, who had always been in the shadows, spent her final decades searching for a spotlight all her own. Perhaps in the end, they simply settled into the roles that had been cast for them since childhood. One forever the icon, the other forever the icon's sister. Their story really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Can we ever truly escape the roles we are assigned in our families? Or do we, like Jackie and Lee, simply find different stages on which to play them out?